whole sort of political side of that is that you meant to, we want them to come up with strategies which will generate money, grow the economy, bring in extra tax revenue, which may happen by reducing taxes. Weirdly, that's how all this
possibly
works. But rather than just throw money at these problems.
Agreed. It can't just be you print more and you give it out. But I think fundamentally that was one of the things that really struck me as a lack of understanding in the way that Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss made their big sort of rabbit out of the hat mini budget announcements that so panicked the markets. It was sort of like a da-da moment, but everybody went, wait, what? And actually, when you've got that much fear, people are suddenly massively worried about whether they're going to be able to pay their mortgages or be able to get a new mortgage and refinance. They're massively worried about what's going to happen to my savings or my pension. I'm worried about my job. That is not the way that people are going to put their hands in their pocket and get a takeaway that night or get their hair done or book a holiday or buy some extra presents at Christmas time or go, I'm going to take on an extra member of staff because I think we're going to be OK.
That's a fair point, Jack, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but if there's anything which the last few weeks have shown us with all the economic turmoil, is that we can't, going back to Miranda said this herself, and yourself, Stephen, that you can't just go around printing money. What's interesting about both of these sort of stories, I'll come on to the disabled family story in a second, but just going back sort of to the strike and this whole conversation is that, like I said, in more sensible economic conservative times, there would be a conversation about this and the impact that would have. And there's going to be loads of private sector people across the country in jobs which are, relatively, in the early 20,000s or whatever, who are also going to be struggling, and they'd be making these arguments to the public sector workers. Why should you get a pay rise of 10% and the impacts that this will have? And it's just a serious conversation because we've all now seen in the past few weeks alone the impacts of this on the real world and on people's mortgages, like you say. And going on to the disabled, on the disability sort of the cost of living for those, this is something quite personal to me. Actually, I've got friends who have disabled children, and now the cost of living is a well-known word for a lot of people. But in normal times, if you've got a disabled child or someone disabled in your family, the cost of living itself is very, very high. Anyway, that's getting around and installing lifts in your home or whatever it is to suit your needs. But this is something, without sort of trying to defend myself too much in the government I worked in, Rishi Sunak tried to address this quite a bit, actually, in his approach to the cost of living when he announced all these funding packages back in earlier this year. Disabled people were set to receive the highest amounts, actually, I think, from that money. But if there's a lot of truth in this story, which I'm sure there is for people around the country where they are struggling to this extent, then I'm sure the government, any compassionate government, would want to look at it again and see if they need any more funding